cats and kittens, welcome once again to Baggy Hi Fi, this YouTube channel devoted to record collecting and the vinyl community here in the UK. This video will be a little bit different because this time we're going to be talking about car music. What do I mean by car music? Well, I've left the Bagmobile and I've moved back into the house to let you know what I mean by car music. It's quite straightforward really. I'll read this to you. According to a survey by a European car company done on a sample of 2,000 drivers, over 84% always or very often listen to their favourite songs while driving. So those of you who do have a car, those of you who drive, I think you would be in that 84%, especially if you're watching this video. It was interesting that that same article which I read on a website had a top 10 of pieces of music that favourite pieces of music that drivers listen to, and top of that list was Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. Well, that won't really be the case in Baggy Hi-Fi land. So the idea for this video is to show you the kind of music I like listening to when I'm driving, because I think you probably agree the listening experience when you're driving in the car is very different from the listening experience when you're at home listening to your vinyl records. And driving in the car, unless you have a very vintage vehicle, means listening to CDs or even MP3s if you have a really modern jalopy. But about 20 years ago I did have a car that had a cassette player, and I used to enjoy making mixtapes for the car, but that's something I don't really do these days. And I still buy a lot of CDs, mainly because they're so cheap, and it's a way of exploring albums before you might want to fork out a little bit more money and buy them on vinyl. I read somewhere recently someone was saying that they thought that CDs were the new vinyl, and I think what they meant by that was, sort of looking back maybe about 20 years really now, when vinyl seemed to be on its way out. It was really cheap to buy. I remember a kind of a golden year going back to sort of the early 2000s of this won't mean anything to you really, a Chesterley Street market. It won't mean anything if you don't live in this area. But there were 3 stalls in Chesterley Street, Saturday morning open air market, and they were selling off loads and loads of used vinyl. You could get really fantastic albums for about £2 and £2.50. And I did buy a few at that time, but I wish I could go back in a time machine and grab those. But I think what people meant, again, what they meant by this CDs of the new vinyl is because they're so cheap now. I mean, if you just look on eBay, you can get more or less any CD you want for sort of £2 upwards. You don't have to pay more than about £6 to get a decent CD. So I have been buying a lot of CDs lately, and they are what I listen to in the car. So I'm going to break down this video into sort of 3 categories, quite arbitrary categories. A lot of my journeys by car are fairly short. My sort of work doesn't really mean that I have to drive for a very long time, never really more than about half an hour, very rarely anyway. So I want to listen to, get a few songs in when I'm driving, and listen to some usually music I know quite well on those short journeys. So these first CDs are ones that I've listened to lately on those short car journeys, when I've whipped the CD off the rack and put it on the car seat to listen to as I'm driving. So yeah, very fond of the Kinks. I'll whiz through these because you'll all know these records. The Kinks, one of my favourite albums by the Kinks. Something Else by the Kinks features David Watts, Situation Vacant, Harry Ragg, End of the Season, Waterloo Sunset, of course. Another one I've been enjoying recently is the Beatles' Yellow Submarine album, sort of the soundtrack album. Features quite an unusual mix of well-known Beatles songs, including Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, All Together Now, Only a Northern Song. That's one of my favourites. Anyway, I've enjoyed listening to that one. You can still see the Oxfam sticker if you have good eyesight. Another band I love listening to in the car, songs I know well, The Move, their first album. This is a pop psych classic. It's a nice edition of their first album with some stereo mix and a mono mix and some bonus tracks. I enjoy listening to the Byrds in the car. This is Turn, 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 which, believe it or not, I don't actually own on vinyl, so this is a good one. Nice bit of jangly Rickenbacker stuff in the car. Moving forward in time, this is another one which sounds really punchy and cool in the car, is The Fall, early singles. A lot of people don't really like The Fall. A lot of people I know don't like The Fall, but I always have, and I always love their early singles, and this is a compilation of their early singles. From Big O Master's Breakout up to Room to Live, so 16 tracks on the Cog Sinister label. Mark E. Smith, rest in peace. And I've been almost going through a sort of a bit of a goth phase with CD listening in the car. Susie and the Banshees, A Kiss in the Dream House. This is when they were sort of moving out of their more punky roots and becoming more florid and gothy and psychedelic as well. It's a good album, this one. I didn't really know this one at the time. So again, cheap CDs are a way of discovering albums that you maybe didn't know or passed you by in the past. Now this one I did know, but it's his favourite. It's XTC Skylarking. I have this on vinyl as well. One of their best albums, I think, produced by Todd Rundgren. This one, Teardrop Explodes, you will have seen me talk about Julian Cope quite a bit. This is Zoology, which is a compilation of obscurities by Julian Cope's band Teardrop Explodes. There's some live stuff on here. Very, very good. Maybe quite hard to track down, but I got this off the Head Heritage website. Might still be available. Some nice tuneful stuff while you're driving by Teenage Fanclub. Howdy, that's one of my favourite Teenage Fanclub albums. Howdy. And this next one, it's a band I sort of discovered about 10 years ago, and I've only recently bought some CDs by them. And a band that existed in the late 90s, an American band called the Ladybug Transistor. And people on the VC, I've noticed this year, have been talking about Gary Olson's solo album, which a lot of people have been raving about. Well, Gary Olson was the lead singer in the Ladybug Transistor. This is one of their best albums from 1999. And so if you haven't heard Ladybug Transistor, how would I describe them? Well, they were, I don't exist anymore, they were a sort of chamber baroque pop group with lots of harmonies, brass, strings, nice arrangements that owe a lot to sort of Beach Boys and 60s sunshine pop. This is a lovely album. I'm going to play you a sample from this one. This is the album's called the Albemarle Sound. It's from 1999 by the Ladybug Transistor. Highly recommended. Longer journeys, I turn to longer CDs. Makes sense, really, but I tend to turn to compilations to take with me on a longer car journey if I'm maybe going to see one of my sisters or visiting a friend in the Midlands or in the South or in Scotland. And so I've got a pile here of some favourite comps which I enjoy listening to while I'm chugging along in the car. This one I've had for a long, long time, and it's Call Me, the songs of Tony Hatch. Tony Hatch might not be too much of an exaggeration to say that he's almost like the British Burt Bacharach, and songwriter to the stars, well, the stars at the time, like Petula Clark, Jackie Trent, and some more obscure artists as well on here. And there's some, this is 2 CDs. It's on the defunct Castle Communications label. There's Tony. Tony used to be a judge on a talent program in the 70s called New Faces, and he was sort of the Simon Cowell of his time. He used to put the acts down while all the others used to butter them up. Songs I really like on this include Colour My World by Two of Each. Petula Clark, I think, did a version of that as well. Yeah, that's one I like. And there are some comedy tunes on here towards the end. There's Benny Hill with The Harvest of Love, Bruce Forsyth, I'm Backing Britain, and Norman Vaughan, The Happiness Tree. So it's a real odd mix of tunes written by Tony Hatch, novelty tunes, and some very nicely written ballads and upbeat pop songs from the 60s mainly. Sticking to the 60s, this is an Ace Records compilation. She Came from Liverpool. It's a compilation of Merseyside girl pop, 1962 to 1968. Great compilation. Shows the one of my favourite girl groups from Liverpool, of which there aren't many. The Liverbirds. Do enjoy this one. It features, the most famous artist on here is Cilla Black. But there are some really people lost in the mist of time, like Jeannie and the Big Guys, Lynn Cornell, the Charades, the Vernon's Girls, who Vernon's Pools was a big employer in Liverpool. In fact, one of my sisters worked there as a holiday job from school, counting the pool coupons. So yeah, that's a nice compilation. She Came from Liverpool. And again, remaining in the 60s, you'll know the Honeycombs, I think. Recording artists for Joe Meek, had lots and lots of hits, including Have I the Right. Honey Langtree was their drummer. And this is a lovely release by RPM, and includes a booklet. It's a 3 CD set. There's the first album, second album, and then a Live in Tokyo album. It's real good fun listening to this one. Nicely put together and in one of these nice clamshell boxes that go down well with collectors. Another comp, which I've played many times in the car because it's such a good collection of psych pop. It's Psychedelia from Abbey Road. There are a series of these CDs of music recorded at Abbey Road, and this is the psychedelic one. It includes well-known people like Donovan, Pretty Things, Syd Barrett, and more obscure people like The Fingers, the In-Betweens, the Nocturnes, the Cougars. Great, solidly top-notch psych pop from all recorded at the Abbey Road studios. So it wasn't just the Zombies, and it wasn't just the Beatles who recorded at Abbey Road. Now moving over to the States now. This is a good one. Soft pop nuggets from the Warner Brothers vaults. How many tracks on here? 24 tracks of psych-tinged soft pop from the late 60s. And just before I show another one, a companion CD to that one, I'm going to show you a few more box sets of British psych pop, which, if you watch these videos, you'll know is a favourite genre of music. For me, this one's a great one. It's Circus Days. It's 6 CDs. And these were originally issued on vinyl, and I do have some of those on vinyl. Quite obscure British psych pop. Some a bit proggy, some more poppy than others, but that would keep me going. That would keep me very happy on a long car journey. Next are the very well liked Grapefruit label compilations. This one is Let's Go Down and Blow Our Minds, and it's the British Psychedelic Sounds of 1967. So the Grapefruit label devoted 3 CD box set to each of the years round about the psychedelic era, and this is the first one. Second one is Looking at Pictures in the Sky, the British Psychedelic Sounds of 1968. Nice booklet, lots of information on all the tracks and the 3 discs inside. Dale from Gatefold 33 has been showing some of these. I know he's a fan of the Grapefruit label, as I am. This is the 3rd volume, Try a Little Sunshine, the British Psychedelic Sounds of 1969. Very nice for a car journey. And one of the more recent ones, New Moons in the Sky, the British Progressive Pop Sounds of 1970, as Psych was sort of fading away and prog was coming in. Lots and lots of information. Of course, you can't read that when you're driving, but good music when you're driving. Finally, back to the sort of soft pop and harmony, sunshine pop of the USA. This is, I've had this one for quite a few years, but it often is put into the car. This is My Mind Goes High, psychedelic pop nuggets from the WEA vaults of the Warner Brothers. And this is a groovy, ginchy collection of sunshine pop, mainly. Sort of in the Monkees vein. Harper's Bazaar, I think they're on here. Harper's Bazaar, The Association are on here. I've shown some of their vinyl recently. The Electric Prunes. The Everly Brothers have a very psychedelic track on here. I'm going to play you a track, the first track off this, which is Hallucinations by Baker Knight and the Nightmares. And I read in the notes, this was featured some of the musicians who played on some of the early Monkees albums, and it is a bit Monkey-esque. It's also a bit Beatlesque. Has a little bit of that Taxman type bass guitar riff in it. But take a listen to this. Again, highly recommended. Great for driving. My Mind Goes High. Pop nuggets from the Warner Brothers vaults. Finally, the third category. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I've been buying a lot of CDs, and they're a good way of finding out, maybe in a genre of music that you're not as familiar with as the other music that you normally listen to, a way of finding out whether you like an album or not before you fork out more money to buy a vinyl version. And so I've been buying a lot of jazz CDs over the last 12 months. And although I enjoy the Blue Note stuff, all the big names and the Impulse label stuff, which is great to explore, I feel really drawn at the moment, or over the last few months, to British jazz, and particularly British jazz of the 60s and the 70s. Really interesting era. If you want to know more about that time in British music, there's a very good BBC documentary called Jazz Britannia, which you can see on YouTube, and I do recommend that because it shows that scene, mainly sort of London-based scene of British jazzers, and some interesting characters and some very, very interesting music. So one of those artists who maybe should have more acclaim from the British jazz scene of the 60s is Joe Harriott. And they say that Joe Harriott maybe didn't get as much acclaim because he sort of stuck his neck out and actually did play, in the early 60s, some free jazz, which was fairly unusual in the British environment. This is one of his free jazz albums. This is Freeform. I think it's from about 1960, might be wrong, 60 or 61. It's not really in-your-face, screeching, chaotic free jazz. It's quite a lot of space in the music, and it doesn't sound entirely improvised, but certainly some of it is according to the liner notes. So Joe Harriott was an alto sax player, and some other great musicians on here. So I do enjoy listening to this one. And some of these, well, actually most of these jazz CDs I'm showing aren't available on vinyl reissue, and I wish they were. Some of the other British jazz artists of this time, like Don Rendell and Ian Carr, their stuff has been reissued very nicely by the Jazzman label, but not so with Joe Harriott or this Michael Garrick, which I'll be showing you in a moment. This is another Joe Harriott quintet album, some more free jazz. This is an album called Abstract, just as good as the other one. Some very abstract titles on here. For example, modal, tonal, pictures, idioms and compound. Very abstract, very nice. Yeah, I just mentioned Michael Garrick. He was a pianist, and I do like his stuff. Only just really kind of been discovering him. This is one that Johnny Trunk put out, and it was originally a 10-inch, very lost in time 10-inch single called Moonscape, and the Trunk label, Johnny Trunk, reissued this, so it can be more widely available. It's very nice piano trio stuff. Not as free in any sense as Joe Harriott, but Joe Harriott did play with Michael Garrick. This is Michael Garrick's trio, nice one called Cold Mountain. There's Michael himself, keyboardist. Not only played the piano but also harpsichord and celeste. So there's a sort of a chamber, classically influenced mood to some of his music, and he was also keen on merging poetry and jazz. This next CD I'm going to show does include a bit of that poetry, but I believe there are two poetry and jazz albums that Michael Garrick was involved with in the 60s which haven't been reissued on vinyl, and I really wish they would be reissued, and I know a lot of other people would as well, would like to buy those. To buy an original just costs hundreds and hundreds of pounds. This is another excellent one by Michael Garrick. All of these are on the Vocalion label, and if you go to look at the Vocalion website, quite a few of these are reduced. Maybe no one seems to be interested in Michael Garrick, so I put in an order for about 3 more of these Michael Garrick CDs because they have an autumn sale on at the moment. This one's a great one. It's Black Marigolds. It's quite a strange album. There is some poetry on here, read by someone with a very plummy voice. I think it's Colin Barnes, the drummer. Ian Carr and Don Rendell are on here, and Joe Harriott plays alto. Very, very nice album. I'm going to play you a sample of this, which includes Michael Garrick playing his harpsichord. So that's the end of this sample of music I've been listening to while I'm driving. I'd be quite interested if anyone else wants to pick up on this idea and show everyone in the VC what they'd like to listen to when they're driving in their car. Thanks for watching. Thanks for making it to the end. Thanks for your subscriptions and comments. And I'll just say for now, goodbye.